Well, guys, the Los Angeles Rams have given quarterback Matthew Stafford permission to seek a trade, go out, see what his value is. So there's obviously been some speculations on will he stay in LA? Will he go somewhere else here in 2025? And some people have linked the Colts potentially to Matthew Stafford again. They were linked back to Matthew Stafford in 2021. Some people are linking them back together here in 2025. So I wanted to kind of react to that a little bit, give my overall thoughts on Matthew Stafford, on kind of where it fits right now, or if it doesn't fit with the Indianapolis Colts current roster, with their quarterback situation, all that stuff, and kind of give my overall reaction when it comes to Matthew Stafford and the links to the Indianapolis Colts. So I'll start by saying this. Obviously, the Indianapolis Colts were linked to Matthew Stafford, like I said, a couple years ago back in 2021 after Philip Rivers retired. And, we were all for it at that point. Derek and I, we were like, yes, absolutely, do what needs to be done. Matthew Stafford, while he is in his mid-30s at that point, you don't have an answer at quarterback right now. You don't have really anybody of note on your roster at that point. You're going to have to add a quarterback anyway. So if you're going to make the trade, make the big swing and go get Matthew Stafford, right? And I know the Colts, from what people have said, they were right there in the running for Matthew Stafford. But ultimately, for whatever reason, whether it was Chris Ballard's stubbornness or whatever it was, Matthew Stafford obviously doesn't come to Indianapolis. He goes to LA. The Indianapolis Colts trade for Carson Wentz. And then however many quarterbacks later, the rest is history. And now here we are again, a number of years later, and Matthew Stafford might be available again here after winning the Super Bowl and after posting some really good seasons with the Rams. And so when I kind of look at this, guys, my overall thoughts are, if this was even 2 years ago, even if this was last year, I might be more inclined to say, all right, I'd listen a little bit more. Specifically, even Anthony Richardson's rookie season, right? Because a lot of people had question marks on, even if you draft him, right, he may not be a guy that you want to start right away, right? People were saying that, right? That he might be a guy that would greatly benefit from sitting on the bench for a season or two behind a veteran quarterback. Obviously, the Colts elected to start him the first 2 seasons of his career. And Chris Ballard's come out since then and said, yeah, it probably was a mistake to do that. So if that was the case a couple of years ago and we're sitting in this situation, then yes, I think that would make some sense for the Indianapolis Colts to pursue Matthew Stafford. I think that would make total sense for them to do that for, a couple seasons here. But to me, I kind of look at it right now and I say, man, you know what? Where the Indianapolis Colts currently stand with, Chris Ballard, Shane Steichen, they've put all their eggs in this Anthony Richardson basket. I mean, they really have. He is their guy. Like it or not, he is the quarterback here for 2025, right? Because you invested that much into him. Your success is tied into Anthony Richardson and whether he succeeds or fails. And this is obviously a huge season for him. Like, this is the do or die season for Anthony Richardson and a lot of these guys, right? So I think from that standpoint, that kind of is where you are right now. And also, Chris Ballard has come out and said, we're not close. Right? We're not close to winning. We're not close to being where we need to be. So to think that just trading for Matthew Stafford would make the Colts an instant contender is silly. Would it make them a better team right now? Absolutely it would. Would it make them a true contender? I don't know. I don't think so, based off of what Chris Ballard has said. So that's kind of how I look at it right now, is like Anthony Richardson still has a big prove-it year right now. If you sign Matthew Stafford, you're basically punting on Anthony Richardson, and then everybody probably needs to be fired, right? Because that's been the guy that you have put your eggs in this basket, like it or not. This is the bed that you have chosen to lie in. The bed that you've made for yourself is Anthony Richardson. And then to go out and say one thing right after the season and to make a win now move, like, what? You're not fooling anybody. We know you're nowhere ready. We know you're nowhere close to competing, right? So it would just be a lot of talking outside both sides of your mouth from Chris Ballard, and it would be basically just giving up on this young kid, Anthony Richardson. Now, I know some people would say, who cares? But I'm kind of looking at it from Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen's standpoint right now, right? And this is your guy. This is your quarterback. Like it or not, he's your guy and he has to be your guy. You want him. At the end of the day, you want Anthony Richardson If you're Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard, you want him to be the guy this year. So you have to give him that opportunity to show that he can be that guy. He has to be on the field. He has to. Now, they talked obviously about adding competition. In my mind, this wouldn't be doing that. This would be clearly putting Anthony Richardson on the bench, right? And so I don't think that's helpful to Anthony Richardson and finding out one way or another if he is the guy or not. I just don't think that's helpful. So I think for all those reasons, where the Indianapolis Colts currently are, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for them right now. All the things that I've talked about, I just don't see it making a lot of sense for the Indianapolis Colts in regards to trading for Matthew Stafford. And a little bit of numbers here as well, because obviously the Colts are, hopefully, from what they have said, they're going to utilize free agency. They're going to bring out some outside guys right now. And the Colts have a little over $30 million in cap space right now. If they traded for Matthew Stafford, this isn't even factoring in the draft compensation they'd have to give. The next 2 years, they're going to have to pay him $58 million. They're going to pay him $27 million, basically your entire cap space right there in one player. And then in 2026, that rises to $31 million. And that's not even factoring in the fact that Matthew Stafford wants to renegotiate to get even a bigger deal this next year. So, if you're thinking of adding any other outside free agents, unless you do a lot of roster changes, you're not going to add any real talent. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Indianapolis Colts to do that, especially because Matthew Stafford wants to be paid like a top 10 quarterback. Colts aren't anywhere near competing for a Super Bowl. So even from Matthew Stafford's standpoint, he probably doesn't want to go to a team that's nowhere close, right? He doesn't want to probably go to a team like that. So that's all to say, guys. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for the Indianapolis Colts right now with their quarterback situation, with where they are as a franchise, with the money that they're looking to invest into other positions. To me, doesn't make a ton of sense here for where they currently are. If this was 2-3 years ago, it would make a lot more sense. But right now in 2025, not really a move I think the Colts should make. But curious what your guys' thoughts would be here on Matthew Stafford. Would you like to see the Indianapolis Colts pursue him? They definitely would have to get creative if they did pursue him and bring him in. But what are your thoughts? Let me know all those things in the comments down below. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, all that good stuff so that you are in the loop when we drop fresh content just like this. Guys, what are your thoughts on the quarterback position? Let me know in the comments. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. And as always, guys, go Colts.